Here is a brutal truth. Every single effort you make to stop your overthinking is actually the very thing keeping it alive. You are trying to put out a fire with gasoline. When we find ourselves staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, our natural instinct is to fight. We try to download a meditation app, force ourselves to think positively, or look for a quick fix to make the mind stop. But have you noticed that the harder you fight, the louder the noise gets? That is because the manager inside your head, the one trying so hard to control the thoughts, is actually made of the exact same anxiety. The philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti didn't offer any rules or shortcuts to escape this. Instead, he invites us into a radical decoding of our own minds. What if overthinking isn't a disease to be cured, but just a sign that we are trapped in our own past? We are going to look straight into this messy machinery together, because the moment you truly see the trap for what it is, the noise simply begins to quiet down on its own. Let's begin. Let's begin by looking at what actually happens when we overthink. Suppose you are lying awake worrying about your career, your financial stability, or a fragile relationship. In those moments, it feels like you are engaging in deep, constructive problem-solving for the future. But if we look a little closer, we discover a startling truth. The mind is incapable of thinking about anything genuinely new. Every scenario you invent, every what if that makes your heart race, is constructed entirely out of old materials. They are built from past failures, childhood insecurities, societal expectations, and old wounds. Thought is always old. Thought can never be free, because it is the reaction of memory. When you overthink tomorrow, you are simply taking the dead ashes of yesterday, reshaping them, and projecting them onto an empty canvas. We are terrified of the unknown, so the mind desperately uses the known to control it. The tragedy is you cannot meet a living, moving reality with a dead memory. That is why the more we think, the more trapped we feel. When this mental noise becomes unbearable, what is our natural response? We immediately divide ourselves in two. There is the bad, chaotic mind that won't stop worrying, and the good, logical self that tries to fix it. We tell ourselves, I need to control my thoughts. I need to conquer my anxiety. This is the great illusion that Krishnamurti spent decades unraveling. He asked a deceptively simple question. Who is the I that is trying to control the thought? If you observe this inward conflict quietly, you will see that the controller is not separate from the thing it wants to control. The entity trying to quiet the mind is made of the exact same anxiety, the exact same conditioning, and the exact same desire for security. The thinker is the thought. When you try to use willpower or logic to force your mind to be still, you are like a firefighter trying to put out a blaze with gasoline. The very effort to stop the overthinking is what keeps the overthinking alive. If analyzing our thoughts leads to a dead end, and trying to stop them only creates more conflict, then what is left? What are we supposed to do? The response from Krishnamurti often shocks people, because he suggests doing absolutely nothing. But we must understand what doing nothing really means. It is not passivity. It is not giving up or distracting ourselves with entertainment. It is a radical, courageous act of attention. It means when a wave of anxiety or an obsessive thought arises, you sit with it completely. You don't try to fix it, you don't judge it as bad, and you don't spin a new story around it. You simply observe it. Think of it like standing on the bank of a muddy river. If you jump into the water to try and clear the mud, you only stir up more dirt. But if you sit quietly on the bank, the mud naturally settles on its own, and the water becomes clear. When you observe your overthinking without any choice, without any desire to change it, the psychological momentum breaks. In that choiceless awareness, the mind naturally falls silent. Not because it was forced to, but because it finally understood the futility of its own noise.
The silence of the mind cannot be practiced. It comes naturally when we stop fighting ourselves. If this exploration brought a moment of clarity to your mind today, consider walking this path of self-discovery with us. Subscribe, and let's keep looking together. Thank you for listening.